It's Hearthstone Grandmasters for the European region. I'm Matt Admirable, and I'm joined by Darroch Brown. We just saw Swids take another 2-0, and that moves them up to 2-4 in match record now. Orange also at 2-4. But we're headed into our second match of 6 today. That's right, it's Sunday. We have 6 matches across all of our regions. It's BoarControl taking on Feno in this one. I was about to correct myself from BoarControl to Control Boar. I don't know why.
His long-lost evil twin, who for some reason doesn't have the same surname, but the same name switched.
That's how evil twins always work.
Yeah, I mean, the joke just makes no sense if you think about it. But for Feno and BoarControl, this is a very interesting matchup because they are not just competitors facing off against each other, but teammates, practice partners, and also very good friends. These two players have been working together for a very long time and have been having a good amount of success as well. Both of them accruing a tremendous amount of HCT points last year with their very considered style of play. As we see here from BoarControl, something a little bit more...
Aggressive?
Aggressive, yeah. I want to say unconventional, I guess, at the moment, with the Raiding Party Preparation Rogue. It's basically a callback to what Rogue looked like before the nerfs.
I'll tell you what, this is how you get aggressive right here. Yeah. I want to recall back to the Raza Priest metagame for a minute, where Chalky, who's now one of the developers for the game, he helps balance all the cards. He put Fairy Dragon in his Raza Priest deck, and he said, you know what Raza Priest is weak to in the mirror match? Damage.
Yeah.
You know what deals them damage they can't handle? Fairy Dragon. I'm just going to put in all the 3/2s. He considered putting in a Bloodfen Raptor, and you know what? When 3/2s go unchecked, they deal heaps of damage with 2 mana.
A huge amount of damage. I mean, we talk about what Jay Alexander, I think, was the rogue player, rogue extraordinaire, who put in copies of Fairy Dragons in Miracle Rogue in this particular deck earlier. But as you say, Chucky light years ahead in terms of everyone else. But now over to Feno's rogue deck, a little bit different in terms of the, I don't know, the style of play it goes for with the Burgle package thrown in there as well. I get the impression that he might be a little bit weak up against what BoarControl is trying to do.
I think this is an extremely different rogue deck, but earlier this week when these deck lists got released and we have to figure out how the matchups think we're going to go and what we're going to say, I very heavily criticized the Sea Giants in here. I kept drawing them, they kept not doing anything, and then you know what happened? I queued into a rogue deck. And right then, I was like, that's why Sea Giant's in here. Your opponent plays lackeys, you play your own lackeys, you play a Sea Giant, and then you kill all their stuff. And it's really hard to beat. I think in this matchup in particular, we have an interesting dynamic where BoarControl is putting the pedal to the metal and trying to keep Feno on the back foot the entire time. Feno, on the other hand, is trying to create a major board swing and take advantage of that fact.
That's really interesting because I don't know if I actually agree with you that in that instance in Sea Giant. I think in most rogue mirrors, Sea Giant can be very good. BoarControl's deck, though, it's generally not going to go that wide. It's going to play a couple minions, it's going to play Waggle Pick, and it is going to do a blooming ton of damage to Feno before he can put up any kind of defensive maneuvers.
That is definitely the idea for BoarControl, and that's why I think Feno is actually in an unfavored spot in this week's matchup. You know, he sits at a 5-0 match score right now, but in this game, he's on coin, but he's facing a deck that's meant to pressure him in a way that Feno is not necessarily built to handle. You know, there's nods to it. Obviously, there's backstab, there's SI7 agent. But the idea of just launching damage to your face, that's the one spot I think Feno can be weak in. So because of that, the nod with Life Drinkers and with Zilliax.
Yeah, that's definitely going to help him an awful lot in this particular matchup against Rogue. As, man, Feno just hitting the curve he always seems to hit of Blink Fox into Hench Clan Burglar, which is just... I mean, it's arguably a little bit slow and understated minions, but a 3-3 into a 4-3 is just a huge amount of damage if BoarControl can't answer it.
And Boar's got pretty shaky hand right now. So the idea here, this is the situations where I feel like Sea Giant has been good, is when a player does not get off to a blazing start.
Yeah.
And they have to play more rogue-esque game plans, which is, how do I trick my opponent and then deliver one giant turn of damage? That's where Boar's hand is set up right now. And so, you know, you were playing some Rogue this morning, and we were talking about specifically Dread Corsair and not playing it the turn you play Waggle Pick.
Right, which I think is very often a consideration, mainly when you have Edwin in hand to try and get a bigger swing off the Edwin.
I think this is very in line with the game plan.
Yeah, I agree.
Launch damage, get lackeys, hit face.
I think the only consideration this turn was going Pret and not playing the Abyss, because it can be very useful to clear a little bit of room to keep the board clear.
Well, you see, if he hits Feno in the face, he has less life, and if he eviscerates face right now, he can't trick himself into eviscerating a minion later on. Very key point. Ooh, not a good one. Really slow. Oh, the Edwin! The Edwin crops up right here. It was just what you were talking about.
Ooh, okay, this is where things get interesting then. Because then you have a lot of considerations afterwards, because it's not only saving the Dread Corsair for the Edwin turn, you also need to be careful. For example, if BoarControl equipped the Waggle Pick, killed off the 3/3 here, he then needs to be scared of bouncing back the Edwin with the Waggle Pick on the following turn if he's not careful.
I wonder if it's ever just Edwin this turn.
So many options.
Kobold Lucky Edwin is interesting. It goes wide on the board.
God, these spots are always so hard for me because BoarControl, he's trying to find an iteration. The more I've watched BoarControl, and especially here in Grandmasters, what I've begun to understand is BoarControl is not looking for the strongest play this turn. He's looking for the strongest outcome versus the likely plays from Fino.
And that's the important factor, the likely plays from Fino. Fino has no Eviscerates, and he has no Saps, very importantly. So a big Edwin can just absolutely solo the game for BoarControl.
At the same time, though, in Fino's deck list, there's 2 Vendettas. He hasn't really played anything other than Blink Fox, so, you know, Backstab becomes likely. I think SI7 Agent is somewhat likely. I don't think Fino would have killed this Miscreant this turn.
And for that reason, a 4/4 Edwin is not good enough, right? That dies to Backstab SI or Vendetta, whereas an 8/8, a 10/10 Edwin has to have significantly more resources sunk into it. I think this is great setup from Boar. And again, holding back the Dread Corsair, as I said, next turn he can play the Dread Corsair, swing with the weapon, hope to hit the Miscreant or even play the Lackey first, and then go off with the Edwin.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how the Lackeys end up going. I imagine you're interested in playing Kobold Lackey first, but at the same time, you might just want to maximize your chance to hit Evil Miscreant.
It's an interesting risk versus reward scenario.
Yeah.
Choose soon.
He might not be interested in using the weapon at all. I think that's very possible.
That's also true. He could just go for an 8/8 Edwin by playing out all his minions.
This guy's tough.
And Fino pays heed to the Waggle Pick here. Oh, boy.
Ooh, wow, wow, wow.
Wow. Wow, indeed. This is a massive turn for Boar. So now,
How does he do this, though? How does he do it?
you can play the Edwin in this spot.
Yes.
And leave a mana up. And so I think that you should be interested in evolving one of your Dread Corsairs in this spot.
I agree. Fino nodding his head. He knows why did Boar keep back these Dread Corsairs? Edwin is the answer every time. And so, yeah, okay.
Fino, Boar is weighing the option of hitting the SI7 agent in the idea that he returns the Kobold Lackey. He can pick it off.
I think that's a little bit too fringe. I think you'd rather just get the guaranteed face damage is more valuable.
In this instance, Boar is not going to risk returning Edwin. If he plays the Witchy Lackey, he wants to play the Witchy Lackey, use the Waggle Pick, and then play the Edwin.
Is mandatory.
EMP Operative doesn't have any targets outside of Ziliax, so bouncing it back would not be good. The Witchy Lackey is perfect, however.
The best use of EMP Operative. Upgraded again.
Much more like it. And there we go.
Yep.
Well
Quick
Indeed.
Kappa Clapper from Fino.
Hail Mary. No good.
That's it. Timeout could maybe buy him a turn, but he knows he's just dead. A swift victory for BoarControl, showing not the value of this deck, not the late game efficiency of this deck, the kill your opponent-ness of this deck.
Yet another Hall of Fame performance for Edwin Van Cleef. You know what? I'm going to soapbox here. I'm sick of that card. It wins so many games. Your reward for playing all your cards is that all of your cards have been played. That's what I'm trying to do the entirety of the game. Why does Edwin give me additional stuff when I play all of my cards?
I hate it less in the decks where Raiding Party has not been played because there is a cost of playing out all your cards. But I agree. It can be very frustrating to play against that Edwin. But at the same time for Fino, he didn't tech for it.
Look,
he could have put Saps in his deck. He could have put Walk the Planks in his deck. BoarControl did both of those things.
Edwin's a cool card. It feels good to use it. It does not feel good after 5 years of it anyway to play against. It's won every World Championship.
It has. It still has. It kept up that record, didn't
Correct.
it, with Hunter Ace?
Yeah, Roger was the only person who could stop it, and he didn't. So, Fino didn't stop it in this game either, which means Boar has a 1-0 lead. Quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be hopping into game number 2. Don't expect many mix-ups as the decks look pretty darn straightforward. Maybe BoarControl's got something in store. Stay tuned and see.
Each teammate I'm calling has stories. This tale's about riches and glories. Deep down in the earth, a king dreams of rebirth and refilling his gold inventories. Such a shame to have lost all that treasure. Join up, be a kobold of leisure. The cards now be calling. Someone new, no more stalling. And we next will be taking her measure.
My name is Alexander Malsh. You might know me as Kolento. My username Kolento is kind of random. I just took it from the MMORPG I was playing. It was the name of one of my characters. My favorite moment in Hearthstone is probably when I won the Game House Cup. It was one of my first tournaments I won, and it probably was the first LAN I won, so it felt very special. So as for Grandmasters in general, I really like to play against people I know personally and I met before. I have respect for them. I think competing will be fun. Being in Grandmasters is a big honor. It's just a proof that I'm a part of best players in Hearthstone. It's not like I need it so much, I just know it myself, but it still feels kind of nice. I'll just perform well at Grandmaster League. I'll try to keep streaming, and I just want to spend the rest of my time having as much fun as I'm having doing my hobby.
Kolento is playing in our next match that's coming up, our match of the day, which is after this, and it is a doozy. Kolento taking on Tice in that one. I cannot wait to see that match. But right now, we're headed into game number 2 of BoarControl versus Feno, and BoarControl's up a game. And Darok, he has got some quite clever tricks in his tertiary deck.
He really does, with his primary deck pretty clearly being anti-mage, I think you could say, with the Betrayal and the Walk the Plank in there. Switching over to his tertiary deck, he gets rid of a Deckhand, a Betrayal, and a Walk the Plank, and he slots in 3 pretty fantastic cards for the anti-rogue mirror. Life Drinker, Deadly Poison, and Bloodsail Corsair in particular against Feno's double Waggle Pick deck is going to be absolutely crucial. Not only is he teching in the Bloodsail Corsair for when he happens to draw it, double Raiding Party means he can suck it out of his deck in order to go for the perfectly timed weapon destruction and completely dismantle Feno's plan. This is looking great for Boar.
You force a Shadow Step on your terms rather than your opponent's. You get a minion in play, and you get to blow up their weapon. How much better of a 1-mana card could you possibly get? I guess it could be a 2/2. Maybe you could get +2/+2 for each other card you played previously this turn.
It's all right, buddy. We'll get through it together.
Only one person lives when Edwin hits. Spoiler alert, it's Edwin, neither player. Feno's face looks concerned.
Interesting. The keep of the Raiding Party there for BoarControl is something I'm unsure about with this deck, because obviously pre-nerf, when it was 3 mana, it was pretty much always a keep when you're on the coin, just to get that Waggle Pick ready to go. It doesn't curve out beautifully with his hand, with the want to go for coin into Evil Miscreant primarily.
Think about what you just talked about.
What did I just talk about?
The Bloodsail Corsair.
Right, no, I agree it's good, but he can't focus entirely on disrupting Feno's plan, right? His primary concern should be doing the most powerful things he can, first of all, which involve drawing preparation so that he can get out for 2 mana rather than 4. Great job, Boar.
I don't think he plays it this turn.
I don't think he plays it this turn either, but I'm saying it's a lot more palatable now that he only has to pay 2 mana for it rather than 4.
You almost had me convinced. I think Coin Raiding Party here is insane. Not this turn, obviously. Don't do that. It's up to 4 mana now. But this to me, like, actually, when you look at Fairy Dragon, it not only has been a strong tech choice, considering Rogues and Warriors being played this week, but it also just makes sense if you're going to be coining raiding party sometimes. You gotta get something on board. Because you're missing your 3-drop when you coin Raiding Party. You can't prep it anymore. Whoa! Wow. Okay, well, I didn't expect the backstab. But it makes sense.
If you're going to play the Fairy Dragon, I think you have to go backstab. I guess this is just pretty clearly setting out Boar's plan of not wanting to go for the Miscreant coined out there. I mean, to be honest, I think I would have just snap coined the Miscreant there. It lines up really nicely against the Novice Engineer. You can start going wide on the board. Next turn could be Lackey plus the Fairy Dragon, sorry, or Lackey Prep Raiding Party to set up for turn 4.
He also next turn has a pretty cool play that I never really thought about, which was coin Miscreant and then play a Lackey. And he already has board presence.
That's true.
So the Lackey could provide follow-up to, you know, clear a minion that Feno plays to try and fight this back. Because right now, he can't backstab. If you can't backstab, you can't activate combos.
This stops,
if you can't activate combos, you can't SI.
This stops the exact combo of
He has a
backstab Miscreant.
He has a Shadow Step a Novice Engineer.
It's worked out very nicely for Boar.
And that means to me that Boar can coin out a raiding party.
So he hasn't drawn any pirates, so his chances of going Waggle Pick double Dread Corsair next turn are relatively low, which is obviously the most powerful thing he could do. He wants to move towards that.
I wonder.
He's got to think about how to set up versus what Feno's likely to do here. So Shadow Stepping the Novice Engineer tells me two things. Number one, my opponent has a play like Lackey or Spear to the Shark or SI7 Agent. Against all three of those plays, in my opinion, you simply want to pressure more in this spot.
Yeah, I agree. And BoarControl is doing that. Despite finding himself some pretty meager lackeys for this particular board state, any of the other three were better in this scenario. He's still making the best job of it as he can, getting that damage to face.
And this, in my opinion, prevents Feno from playing Spear to the Shark here. I think if he plays Spear to the Shark here, he's going to take way too much damage.
So he has to go backstab SI to kill off the Fairy Dragon. He could go for the Dream off of Miscreant to hit either. I suppose it's not that unlikely. He could hit Kobold Lackey or Goblin Lackey to then be able to kill off the Fairy Dragon.
I'm thinking I like the Evil Miscreant better. Wow. I think this is good insight, though, to what Feno's thinking, which is like, I need to just not let this get out of control.
He's got to stop the damage.
Yeah, if I let this board go too wide, I'm not going to win. I think this is a smart play from Feno. It's not flashy. It's very straightforward, and it pays heed to what damage means for BoarControl.
So many options.
That's a face I like to see from BoarControl because it means my turns are good, but they're tough.
It's really tough. I mean, these first few turns for both players, many different lines could have been taken already. Especially as for Boar here, like Prep Raiding Party, it's not that good. Like, he can't go Deadly Poison plus the hero power as well.
Choose soon.
I'm thinking this might just be as simple as either a Deadly Poison or just a Kobold Lackey. I think the thing here is Boar wants to use more mana.
I like the Deadly Poison a lot. He's got to keep BoarControl for the moment. Or control, sorry.
So he wants to save the Lackey for the raiding party and then have the prep for tempo.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. Like, there's a good chance he waits until turn 6 and then goes Prep Party Waggle Pick all on the same turn.
So this turn is slated for Life Drinker, restore the health I just lost to maximize efficiency, and just get board development.
I mean, he can adapt, right? He doesn't have to do either one necessarily. He can just react to what he draws. Like that, for example.
He's certainly planning it out, though.
Yes, yeah. Both of those things will have been in consideration, but he's not pigeonholing himself into one play in particular. He can adapt, depending on what happens.
I feel like even when I've watched BoarControl play on stream, I feel like sometimes he will play decks that are just actually worse, so that way he can have flexible game plans and try to take advantage of that, because I think he's so good in flexible game plans. Now, the non-swing here, I'm a bit more skeptical about.
Because he wants to go Prep Raiding Party Waggle Pick next time.
Oh boy, yeah, this could get ugly.
I mean, for both sides, right, there's super powerful stuff that can happen. And Miscreant for 4 lackeys looks pretty strong.
Faceless is, so he can actually play Sea Giant this turn.
They're pretty slow, though, right? Like, he just wants to kill stuff off the board.
I want to kill stuff off the board as well. But the point is with Faceless, he doesn't have to play Sea Giant this turn. He can kill stuff on the board and then play for it next turn.
So if he goes Faceless Lackey, it summons 2 2-drops. He could then go Sea Giant, but he wouldn't have room to play Kobold Lackey then.
Right. So I think that the way he's looking
Sea
at this
Giant doesn't come this turn.
is if you use Kobold, Sea Giant stays at 4 mana. You play Faceless Lackey, it goes to 1 mana. So you can go Kobold. Oh, you fill up the board. Still,
yeah,
doesn't work.
It's board space issues. Like he could just take the damage and not go for the Kobold Lackey.
All of it is.
Oh. That is a proper bit of all right.
You know, that actually doesn't do anything this turn.
Yeah, I guess you're right, actually. A Corcoran Elite would have been much more juicy.
Nice positioning.
So now for board control, he needs to start wondering if board control is gone forever, and he needs to start launching face as quick as he can.
You see why I wanted that attack last turn?
I absolutely
Like,
do.
we're just loading up the Waggle Pick this turn almost every single time.
He does have the option to go... I mean, like, he could just play all his 1-drops. He doesn't necessarily have to keep the ability to destroy the Waggle Pick.
Sure. I think the timing here for Boar was that the critical destruction of Waggle Pick is on turn 8, where you bounce back your Leroy.
That's
so
true.
that's why
That's
he didn't
true.
swing with it. He wanted
Good
the
point.
flexibility, knows the timing.
Yeah.
So he is occupying 4 mana on turn 7 with that play, though.
His mana's never going to be perfect from here on in, though. I think his mana utilization. Now the critical moment of wondering how much does he trade versus how much does he go all face.
I mean, Spirit of the Shark's got to be one of the...
Choose soon.
Right, I mean, if he goes all face and Life Drinker comes down with a Spirit of the Shark in play, that's kind of just game over.
Yeah, you're dead at that point. I think you have plenty of liberty to continue fighting for board here.
Yep. I agree. The Shark's got to go. The rest of it, however, he's going for a nice hybrid play, half trading, half going face, and I think it's just enough to get the damage through.
It sets Fino to 16 exactly, which is 2 swings of Waggle Pick and 2 activations of Leroy.
Yeah.
Fino has to clear out board. He knows that's going to happen, or board suspects that will happen anyway.
Yeah.
Life Drinkers change some things, though. Ouch.
Well, now for board control, with 2 Waggle Picks and 2 Leroys, that's 20 damage though, right?
Yeah, but I'm looking at second Life Drinker.
Right, and yes, okay, so from Fino's perspective, sorry, it's starting to look pretty good. If he can kill off everything on board, however...
Yeah, he can.
Which he can. Or can
All right.
No, he can't.
Yeah, absolutely can. He has a Goblin Lackey in hand.
Oh, the Goblin Lackey, yeah. Okay. Yeah, he could super clear off everything, wow.
Super clear. Even the next board's dead. And for me, this is a very real counter push potential as well.
Oh, absolutely. Look at this damage he's got. And Life Drinker, Spirit of the Shark, Spirit of the Shark, Life Drinker next turn is just 6 health. That's going to probably just push ball control out.
Oh, this is so smart from Fino as well.
Board space.
To make the board space so that you can play Spirit of the Shark and Life Drinker next turn.
Gorgeous play.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That alone right there is 19 damage. Ooh, Eviscerate drawn though. So now
it's just maths at this point. We just got to figure out how much damage he has.
Boar's dealing 8 this turn. That sets Fino to 12, and then Fino goes up to 18. So board control doesn't deliver lethal blow next turn.
He deals
Spear to the Shark.
16 damage next turn.
12 plus 4 next turn, and he's got 8 this turn.
Yeah.
And Fino's going to be at 25.
And he can't draw Prep and Abyss on the next draw. From where he's sat, I mean, he has to go for it, right? Because for Fino, it has to be either Ziliax, exactly, which is in his deck, or Spirit of the Shark and Life Drinker.
Or a randomly generated thing.
8 damage this turn, 16 damage next turn.
Yeah. Honestly, this also feels like a situation where Boar is seemingly the most uncomfortable is when he knows he has to go all in.
He's very good at recognizing it, though. He knows when he has to. He
just doesn't want to.
He doesn't like it, yeah.
He's like you. I only have 70 million damage in hand.
All right, mate.
Yeah, Fino. He may not have counted for this specifically, but he accounted for as much damage as he could. And he went, you know what? I can heal for this much. Let's do that.
When you say I can heal for this much, I imagine him as a kid holding up these many fingers. I can heal for this much.
I can attack for this much.
Yeah, it doesn't have enough fingers for that one.
Yep, it's game 3 time.
1 damage off lethal.
Did he miss a point of damage this game?
Don't ask me that. There's always a point of damage, right? Actually, there's not.
Oh, he did.
In short games like this.
The game where he attacked with, where he didn't attack with the dagger. He would have had a dagger up that turn, which would have dealt 1 more point of damage. He held it for flexibility. He had to have killed the Spirit of the Shark with damage anyway.
He overwrote a 1/2 dagger. That is a single point of damage that he missed. Wow. And it's not even... It's hard to call that necessarily a mistake because it afforded him more flexibility, but it looked like your line of play was probably just better most of the time.
So think about it. That is actually a calculable thing, though. Is second Spirit of the Shark, second Life Drinker. How much life does he restore in that instance? You can account for Fino restoring exactly 12 points of health.
But it was 2 turns before that at that point, right? He didn't know what was going to happen along the way.
Exactly. So if you think about all the things that Boar would have had to consider to deal an extra point of damage there, I think he has a justification for it just because it's damage, but he's going to be looking for actual justifications for it. And his own line of thought doesn't get to the line of he draws exactly Eviscerate. Yep. Fino gets exactly 2 Life Drinkers with 2 different Spirit of the Sharks. That's a hard thing to account for. But if he accounts for that, actually he does attack with a dagger in that spot.
Exactly. And I think it's arguably, although if you could calculate it perfectly, you're correct, you would think of those things. I think his justification for attacking with the 3/1 dagger there was simpler in that he has prep Raiding Party in hand. He's going to get a Waggle Pick. Even if he doesn't equip it and start swinging with it next turn, his plan is quite clearly swing face over the next few turns. And I think from BoarControl, in this particular instance, he could have just won that game.
That is such a minor detail with such a colossal difference. In fact, it's this colossal of a difference. We got to go to break. So when we come back, it's game number 3. We're going to find out if Boar can close it or if Fino can hang on by a thread and secure it for an undefeated match score. Stay tuned.
The cards see a heart that is stony, and a totem that's all kinda bally. This witch in such danger will soon be no stranger, 'cause she's gonna be our new crony. We welcome you into this room, and we promise your enemies doom. Just one more who's coming. The last one I summon is a fella who makes things go boom.
I am Frosty. I am an Australian Hearthstone player. My first reaction to being in Grandmasters was I was ecstatic. You know, I was absolutely bouncing around the walls, and then it sort of came crashing back down to me that it felt like I had these huge expectations because I realized that I was the only Australian person in all of Grandmasters. I didn't want to let anybody down. One of the things I'd like to do this year is I'd like to make worlds through the new system. I want to be able to prove to people that I'm not just, you know, a weak competitor in this field, and that I'm definitely a contender to be one of the strongest. When it comes to playstyle, I am a big fan of building big creatures and just smashing my opponent in the face. I feel that it's really important to be able to have another focus besides Hearthstone in your life so that you don't get burnt out. I am a martial arts instructor. I have been doing martial arts for 20 years at this point. It's been a huge part of my life. It really helps me focus on something that I need to do and get it done. I feel like I've got a really good opportunity within this first season to really prove to everyone that I'm not just an underdog and that I'm here to stay.
That's right, Frosty is Australian for 2-0 this weekend over in Asia Pacific. If you want to catch those matches there, it's 2 a.m. Pacific time and 11 a.m. Central European time is where you can see those matches happening. Frosty, pretty good looking performance this week, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely looking to turn his performance around. It's been interesting in Asia Pacific, a much more polarized or divisive set of matches as we saw with Tyler. 4 wins, but still not in contention for playoffs. I'm excited to see how that plays out in the Asia-Pacific region.
Indeed I am. I'm excited to see how this one plays out, too. We're going into Game 3 of BoarControl versus Feno. They are both playing Rogue, but it's very different lists that we have. BoarControl on the extremely aggressive-looking list, Feno on the more combo-oriented list where you need to put together a couple turns to make it work right. Feno's featuring Sea Giant. BoarControl is featuring Raiding Party as their, I think, major payoff potentials that are in the deck. In BoarControl, you know, since we're using Specialist, he swapped over to the Tertiary deck where he's added in a few tech cards for this matchup. Didn't get a payoff with it in the last game, though.
He did not. His game plan was much more oriented on what he was trying to do rather than disrupting what Feno was trying to do. And it's interesting the difference you bring up between these deck lists. I'd say it's difficult to boil it down to one thing, but it feels like to me it's consistency for Feno versus potential power for BoarControl. Feno has cut the vast majority of spells in his deck, with only Shadow Step, Backstab, and Vendetta, I believe, is the only spells in his deck, which means he can curve out effectively much more often than BoarControl can. However, if BoarControl hits Waggle Pick plus double Dread Corsair, that's vastly more powerful than anything Feno can do in this game.
Yeah, and honestly, I think with Raiding Party, your plan is very consistent at that. I'd say when it comes to matches of consistency versus matches of, we'll talk about this in a second, but matches of consistency versus matches of power,
yeah,
the power wins. And the reason the power wins isn't because it wins every time, it's because it has the edge. When it does its powerful thing, you don't beat it. The player's not going to bring a deck that does not have the power consistency to outright just win.
BoarControl here wincing as the Fairy Dragon going first against the Rogue. I felt this multiple times while playing this deck last night. The Coin SI7 agent, it doesn't just lose you the game, but it puts you in a very bad spot.
Massive pickup on the preparation.
Yeah, that's huge. Think how good that would have been pre-nerf. What did they do to my beautiful Rogue deck?
Oh, you mean he just would have been able to play Evil Miscreant
yes!
as well this turn?
And it would have had 5 health.
It sounds to me like they made it fair, Derek. They made it fair.
This is like the point where I would, if I could be bothered or had the ability, I would make the meme of where Doctor Strange is asking Thanos, he's like, so this is your home? And then he snaps the glove and it like shows Titan as it was, and he's like, yes, and it was beautiful. And it shows 3 mana Raiding Party, prep for 3 mana. But I have neither the patience nor the skills with MS Paint to make that meme.
I will argue with you about your skills in MS Paint. I think they're beautiful. The time to make the meme, I don't know where you find the time. You crank them out like every single day.
I don't sleep, apparently.
If you're interested in that, follow Derek Brown on Twitter, at Darroch Brown, D-A-R-R-O-C-H. I know, it's weird.
Okay, well, take some offense to that, got to be said. It's just another culture we're making fun of there.
Okay, I take offense to having to attack this 3-2.
Yeah, okay. I think
the SI's done enough.
We can all take offense to that. That SI was absolutely mental.
And this turn is mental as well. I mean, look at this Spear of the Shark. Like, Feno doesn't have to do anything. He's just got annoying minions in play that BoarControl does not want to kill with a Waggle Pick.
Yeah.
Look at your next turn.
I was looking at whether or not he should like try to quote-unquote push his advantage by going wider on board here, like step the Rat, Miscreant, replay the Rat, play a Lackey. Like, it could be very powerful, but
I am interested in Shadow Step.
It's absurd. Like, the Miscreant on the following turn is going to be so powerful.
I think he's Shadow Stepping here. I'm very interested in Shadow Stepping.
Okay. I'm fine with this. I think basically saving the power for playing up to 2 Lackeys, or even more on the following turn with the Cable Rat is pretty absurd.
Yeah, and I think Boar, we're going to ride the Myra's plan at some point.
Oh, absolutely. He's all in at this point already on praying that Life Drinker is not in the hand for Feno.
Wow, he's honestly not in that bad of a spot after the 2 Lackeys as well. Those are very powerful.
He's going to be in a bad spot after this turn for Feno. This is going to be ridiculous.
Four more Lackeys coming.
Those 2 are not especially powerful, I would say.
So his hand...
This is, yeah, I mean,
yeah, this
clears the board.
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't quite clear the board. He could go for the Kobold Lackey on the Miscreant and then Goblin Lackey to double buff his Rat or his Miscreant in order to kill off the Dread Corsair. But I think he wants to get the most amount of damage off the board rather than the most amount of health off the board.
Sea Giant's so close to being something.
Oh, it's going to be something. Does need to worry about board space with double Faceless Lackey in hand, so I wonder if he'll buff the one of the 1/1s rather than the Miscreant to sacrifice it off.
I think I'm interested in
Wow, interesting.
buffing up the Shark, yeah. You've turned the Shark from a 0/3 now into board presence, which I think is really important. You do need to think about the damage from the other side too. That's clearly
right.
the focus for Boar.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Ooh. Oh, we officially have a race on our hands now.
100%. Unless we can find... Oh! BoarControl, if he'd hit either the Blade Flurry or Fan of Knives here, both give him
Fan of Knives is insane.
a big way back onto this board.
Look at Vito's reaction.
Yeah, I mean, justified.
We might have gone from a race to Boar just winning the board.
Nah. Look what Vito could do next turn. I mean, I think for BoarControl, the plan could be board control this turn in order to maximize the amount of damage he can push next turn.
Yeah, he can clear everything in this spot.
Oh, he's also just got the sap for the Sea Giant.
That Fan of Knives was insane.
That was even better than I first thought it would be. Like, he can value trade with the...
Yeah, I like clear up the board here.
I think he needs to be a little bit afraid of taking too much damage.
Oh, that's smart too.
He just saps the Toki.
Yeah, well, it's a Toki. What, is he going to play it? You going to get a Reno Jackson?
Well, no. It's not the fact that it's not good there. It's the fact that sap could be better later is the consideration there for Boar.
Boy, I just killed a 5/5. Oh, it activates Vendetta.
Okay, yeah. I think that...
Okay, that's funny.
That is funny. I think saving the Waggle Pick Death Rattle for Leroy Jenkins could be huge.
Are you kidding? That is such a big deal. The Goblin Lackey with the Crystal Smith Kangar. Another Vendetta.
Or does he just take the Abyss to kill him?
I don't know.
That Kangor is not allowed. I mean, the problem is he has too much health already. So the
a second. Yep, I just checked with the admins. It's allowed.
It's too powerful.
It's way too powerful. This is not fair. Boar just had the exact same thing that he did to Fino happen to him. And now, I don't think BoarControl can win this game.
Boar is being deleted from Hearthstone.
Okay, so how can he win the game? He's got 12 damage, 16 with Leroy and Pick. He can kill off the Crystal Smith Kangor with the Kobold Lackey. He's got Life Drinker SI for 4 more, so he's only 10 damage off after that. South Sea for 2. He doesn't have time.
The worst thing is that if this wasn't Kangor, he could just leave the board full and try and race because Fino wouldn't be able to play his Life Drinkers to heal. He has to kill Kangor. He doesn't have a choice, or the burn plan never ever works. It's very unlikely to work anyway.
I think it was quite likely to work.
Whoa!
Oh,
that's just game!
My gosh, Fino!
Whoa!
Oh my gosh! That's not fair. That's not allowed. The Kangor, I get it. It was disruption. The Savage Roar was 14 damage.
The Savage Roar, even that I will allow. The dab, that is too much, my friend. You have crossed the line.
Wait, did he dab?
He dabbed. Did you not see him dab?
No, you cannot do that. That's official, and I know for a fact that that's not allowed. You cannot dab after you win. You have to dab prior to winning, which then decreases your % chance to win to exactly 0.
The thing is, though, Fino's now 6-0 in Grandmasters. He can do whatever he wants, to be honest. If he wants to dab, that man can dab.
You mark my words. 6-8 is the final record. I'm writing it down right now.
The dab is the curse.
Fino, curse, dab, 6-8 final record. We have an interview ready with Fino. Fino, can you hear us?
Yeah, hey guys, what's up?
Okay. You tell me what's up. You just dabbed.
Well, I mean, the Salvador just asked me to dab, so I had to do it, you know?
Wait, who asked you to dab?
It just asked me to do it, and I did it.
The summoner did?
The Savage Roar.
The Savage Roar asked you to dab.
Yes, the Salvador asked me, yeah.
Once
I discovered it said, kill your opponent and then dab. Like, it wasn't, you can't just kill him like that.
Would you say that Savage Roar or Druid is your spirit animal?
I don't know. Maybe Shark is my spirit animal, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Shark is.
That's a good line of thought right there. Okay, on a serious note now, Fino, you're at 6-0 in match score, and you've only dropped 2 games, one of them being now to BoarControl. How is this week in terms of preparing for this one? Is it tough? Is it tough to prepare for your opponent when it's also your teammate?
Well, I mean, Boar is one of those players that are unpredictable. They play. He plays a lot of stuff except like combo decks, which aren't really a thing right now. So he plays everything else, and he would play everything. Like I wouldn't put him on a specific deck because he doesn't hesitate to play anything if he thinks he will get an edge against me, right? So in that aspect, it was kind of hard. But then again, you just do your thing, and if it works out, it works out.
Well, I wanted to say, I've got 2 points. First of all, I'm a little bit disappointed that Boar didn't win this, so I could bully him about Spurs losing in the Champions League final in the interview here.
I'm right here, Darek. What?
Well, I mean, I'm happy that you won. I just wanted to. I always enjoy an opportunity to take the fun out of BoarControl. But secondly,
which is what you just did.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I'll take my opportunity here.
That.
Exactly. Fino gets it. But second of all, I want to bring up something that you tweeted out recently about a difference in how you're kind of preparing, which is that you're, I know this is going to sound weird, going outside a little bit more recently, which I know is a different preparing style than you usually go for, where you are just like a grinder. You just play a lot of Hearthstone to get to know it. How is that change in your mindset affecting your gameplay and your preparation?
I think my mind right now is so clean. Like I saw the lines, like the game 2, I think I played it so well. Like I had space, like I made space for my, for my Sark Life Drinker.
Yeah, that was
I
good.
knew Boar's line would be to just, fool my board and kill me next turn. I couldn't set up a lethal anyway. So I'm really happy that I was actually able to see that play, because I think people, honestly, this is a thing that I see too much. I think people take this like way too seriously, and they don't, take the time to relax and play relaxed and not care as much, win or lose. Me personally, I don't care at all if I win or lose. I just want to play. I just want to do my best. Just want to have fun. If I win, I win. If I lose, it's okay. It really doesn't matter that much anyway, since the first season is, no one is relegated. Just have fun, play, and honestly, the last 4 weeks, the last 3 weeks, I don't know how many we're playing, and my brain is blank right now. I've only played like only the GM games in the weekend. I just try to keep my head clean, not like over practice, not overthink stuff, and I think that's really helped me personally. So
I think that's a really interesting point to put there. Is what is too much for you? Like how much practice for you is ideal? You mentioned that you haven't really been playing much outside the GM games. But I imagine you have to have been playing some practice sets.
No, I didn't practice against any of my opponent's decks because they were rogue. I've played the rogue mirror a million times. I played it before I submitted with Seiko, because we submitted the same decks, and that's about it. I mean, I know exactly how to play it. I don't need to play it anymore. I played it so many times. So I'd rather keep my head clean and not overthink stuff, because I think a lot of people do that, but not me.
Hey, you keep doing you. It is working beautifully. You're at 6-0 in match score, which means that you've played 3 weeks. Remember, you play 2 every single week. 2 times 3 is 6.
Okay, thanks.
Don't practice too hard on the math there. Don't stress yourself out over it.
Also, I got one more thing. Please start streaming again, Fino. I miss you.
Okay, yeah, I will. Actually, I will tonight, I think, Darek.
Okay,
so
I'll be tuning in.
Good celebration.
Right.
Fino, congratulations. It's been very impressive. I love Fino.
I do. I do as well. He's absolutely one of my favorite players, but you got to love the fact that the player who's just sitting at a perfect record, 6-0, says, yeah, don't take it too seriously. Win or lose, I don't really mind. I just happen to have won every game and played beautifully so far.
Look, I disagree with his standpoint because sunshine and beautiful weather is not going to stop me from coming inside and playing games. Or talking about them for that matter, which we're doing plenty more talking that's coming up. Our second match in the books, Fino with a score of 2-1 over BoarControl in this one, and he sits atop the division 6-0. Bunny Hopper right behind him at 4-2, and Kolento, who's coming up next, versus Tice, who's right after him, both sitting at 3-2, Darek.
That is going to be a, I believe you would call it a barn burner of a match if I'm not incorrect.
It is definitely going to be a barn burner. A slugfest. There's a slug word that I used to use. I can't remember what it is right now. Our match of the day is coming up next. We're going to a break. Kolento versus Tice. 4 World Championship appearances just between the two of them. There's only been 5 World Championships. Stay tuned.